travel with two, like if one guy might travel with one or two other guys, because then we'd split the costs of, the road and the motel and all that. But you couldn't travel with too many guys. And if we liked the guys and get along, because some guys didn't get along. Mm-hmm. Some guys were morons, or idiots. Some guys were great guys. So if you got along, 2-3 guys would go down the road and split this and that. But you couldn't go with too many because it was like a bunch of women. One guy's got to stop and eat. The other guy's not hungry yet. Oh, it's too cold there. It's too hot in here. I've got to go to the bathroom. Can't you wait? Why didn't you go back at the last stop? I didn't have to go. It's like traveling with a bunch of women.
No. still that way, then. I would have to say that
See, nowadays it's the jet age. They're jetting around so fast.
Yeah, and they got bathrooms on the plane.
Yeah, so it's a different world. And they got cell phones and all this stuff. I mean, back then when we were on the road driving, if you broke down, good luck. There's no one to call. You got no phone. You're in the middle of nowhere. You don't got an iPad. You're not logged in.
No razors back
then.
Nothing. You had to. I would have to say pleasure because being part of two very historical storylines. You had your storyline with Bruno, where you were a protege and you turned on him. You guys had a historical lines of matches, and then you had the historical voice of WCW standing up against the NWO.
Yeah, well, the New World Order, it kind of. When things are meant to be and dreams are meant to come true, things manifest. You have the power in your imagination to manifest your dream. And at that time, wrestling was stale, but things worked out to where Ted Turner said, okay, I want to put enough money in to compete and go against Raw. But now, what's the odds that Ted Turner says this at the same time Eric Bischoff winds up with a job that he knows nothing about. He just had a resume full of made-up, his very impressive resume that never happened. And then my brother-in-law, Greg Gagne, is in the office, and Bischoff, me, and Greg all came from the AWA. And it was just a coincidence, but maybe meant to be, that an old AWA idea, which was the AWA invading WCW when it first started, because Vern was looking for an idea to keep the AWA alive before he shut the doors. Mm-hmm. And that never happened. But now, 1996, whatever it is, who's in the office? Greg Gagne. I think Mike Graham was helping out with some stuff. Kevin Sullivan thinking about snakes, but Eric Bischoff. And then me and Greg got together and said, well, why don't we do what we wanted to do with the AWA, only make it look like the WWE is invading WCW. So we took an old AWA idea, and I programmed it into the way Scott Hall busted in the middle of a match, and then they start coming in and doing things that was never done before, and the people freaked out because they believed, that the WWE was invading the and then the WWE, came up with good ideas and really forced the promoters to create, which they kind of live for anyway. So they might be mad at each other, want to beat the other guy, but they live for that. It gives them life. They live to compete.
Now, how was that atmosphere, that whole heel turn of Hogan going with the NWO? That arena, I mean, just watching it on video, they went from speechless to absolute berserk.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was a classic moment, and it was kind of an interesting situation because the Hulk, had his era, and he's got plenty to brag about. But when we brought him into WCW before the New World Order and gave him the parade through Disney World and all that, whatever, it was like so-so. People didn't, the Hulk's era was coming to an end. His body was all getting beat up. He couldn't, do the big high knee drop anymore, or leg drop. It was now like the 1 foot leg drop. But it happens to everybody. And then when the New World Order started, it got so hot. And Hogan was smart enough to realize that either I switch and join the New World Order and, or I'm going to get lost in the shuffle, retire, get too old, and these guys are going to steal the show. So he made the right decision at the right time.
I think it kind of gave him a second half.
It did. It gave him another life.
Yeah. And it saw a lot which I think kind of ruined NWA a little. That it kind of diluted it, where it seemed like every former WWE wrestler that managed their way into WCW became somehow, some way, a member of the NWO.
Well, let me explain how that happened. I'll try to explain it very nicely. Like I said, at the beginning, Greg Gagne and me put together this stuff. I programmed it for Eric, because Eric was running around, with all the rest of this stuff, and he didn't know wrestling. He was the announcer from the AWA. And then after it got so big and so hot and everything was great and, this and that, Eric's head got a little bigger than his neck. And the next thing you knew, Nash and some other guys, and they're all working Eric Bischoff. And Eric stopped listening to me and Greg. In fact, he fired Greg. And some other shady things happened that I helped him with. But anyway, he stopped listening to me, and now he gave away contracts that let the boys call their own shots.
Right.
So Nash could do what he wants, Hogan could do what he wants, Hawk could do what he wants, Lex could do what he wants. So then no program could stick. And I told Eric, no, you're letting the inmates run the asylum. You can't do that. But they were schmoozing them and working them, and Eric was hanging out with the Hulk, and he thought he was one, and he went from a rubber ninja bullshit gimmick salesman to now a big shot. And he lost control for a while and started listening to the wrong people who were working him for themselves. But then, when he wised up, it was too late because AOL bought it and didn't want it on anyway.
Yeah. I mean, for some of the ideas that he had that were great, there just were too many that were so bad.
Well, there was one great idea, and that was mine. And then there was a bunch that followed, because the NWO, like you said, it got diluted. It should have went on longer. And then we had a secret weapon coming up under the radar that was ready to be the next Bruno. People were chanting his name after a year, Goldberg. But they've screwed up everything. They had the Latino world order, the black and the blue new world order, the green, red, and the gray world order. They messed everything up, and it could have been really kept sacred. Goldberg
the was poke of death.
Yeah, Goldberg was ready to come in and be the new Bruno, and when Hulk was getting too old, and all these guys were getting, it would have been great. Should have still been going, but like I said, it's just too bad. Eric lost control a little bit, and AOL just didn't want the show. It just got canceled. WWE is a wrestling company, entertainment company. WCW was just a television show that was a subsidiary of some made-up arm of TBS, Turner, Time Warner. And AOL just canceled the show, just like you cancel Seinfeld or cancel a show that runs in a... So you can't cancel a company, but you can blame it all really on AOL, because they're the stupid idiots. And not only did they cancel their number one rated show, they sold a library of tapes that went back to the 70s that was probably worth $100 million in programming over the years, and they gave it away for $2 million. So, Vince, very smart guy. AOL, very stupid.
Very stupid. So let's fast forward about 20 years, almost 20 years. We're here 2015. Night before WrestleMania, you're inducted into the Hall of Fame with the likes of the Bushwhackers, the late Macho Man Randy Savage, Alundra Blaze, just to name a couple. And how did that feel to finally, not really come full circle from going with your WWF to now being in the WWE Hall of Fame?
Well, yeah, it's kind of like the perfect ending to a life's dream of, becoming like my hero. And I started off, in those days, the WWF, which was the biggest, most prestigious, territory in existence, that, became, the biggest wrestling company ever now. And it was just kind of the way it worked out. I spent most of my career, at the beginning there, and then the rest of my career I just kind of wound up in the AWA, then WCW, because WWE was already filled with talent, so the other places were begging for talent. So it worked out, good for me. And now it worked out even better because now I'm back with the WWE, which is like the circle of life is completing itself, and I'm back home where I started, and working with Vince and Hunter and Paul. It's like being with family. They're great, and I have a chance to put all the knowledge I learned back from the old, from Bruno and Strongbows and Monsoons and Skolins and the Faninis. I mean, I can mention names you never even heard of that taught me stuff that I can put back, into the business and the company, and it's all like it's meant to be.
And I rather get it from you than having to spend $9.99 a month and watch it on the network.
Watch what?
I'd rather hear your stories than watch it.
Oh. Well, is that
You're a little
good?
more animated. So.
Oh, very good.
But I definitely want to wish you continued success, especially with the with NXT. And, again, having these young guys coming to you and young ladies coming to you and, and teaching them and grooming them into the next generation. And definitely continued success with your MZ Promotions tour for the rest of the weekend, and definitely safe travels back home.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah, I'm looking forward to meeting the fans. I haven't been around, a lot of these areas, Connecticut and Albany, for a long time. And they get some good memories. In fact, in my Hall of Fame speech, I mentioned Albany because that's the town I walked out of the Armory one night. Someone took a shot at me, and the bricks above my head on the building shattered.
Oh.
Talk about leaving a brown stain. So I'll be back in Albany. Don't tell anybody.
Ladies and gentlemen, Hall of Famer Larry Zybyscko. This is Coach Kev with Damage 365 Radio.
The following announcement has been paid for by the New World Order.
This is the War Machine Rhino, the last ever ECW World Heavyweight Champion, and you're listening to Damage 365 Radio. Keep listening or you'll get gored in half.
On June 27th, 2015, all roads lead to the Avenel Columbian Council in Avenel, New Jersey, where the legends of the past and the stars of the future are on a collision course. It's the Superstars of Wrestling Federation presents Collision Course, featuring the Extreme Icon, the Sandman. WWE Hall of Famer Nikolai Volkov steps in the ring with too cocky Kevin Matthews as generations collide. Plus, a rare ring appearance by the nearly 7-foot monster, Gene Snitsky. Plus, the retirement match of Big Vinny DeMarco as he teams with Sal DeMarco and Lord Z versus the SWF Heavyweight Champion Damian Darling, Biggie Biggs, and Tommy the Moose. Doors are open at 6:30 p.m. and bell times at 7:30. For all ticket information, call 718-207-5032 or 848-333-1667. All advance seating is $20 and $25 at the door. PayPal your ticket orders through swf.live1@gmail.com. Stand up and be counted at the Avenel Columbian Council, 109 Morrissey Avenue, Avenel, New Jersey. The Superstars of Wrestling Federation, where generations collide.
Esposito's Pizza and Pasta. Over a decade of excellent dining experience. Dine in, take out, or free delivery. We feature over 25 different types of pizza pies, and also will create anything you want. Our sauces are made fresh daily and use only the freshest ingredients. We also have good old-fashioned style entrees, cooked like your mom used to make. From wraps, calzones, rolls, and pasta specials galore to calamari and soups, all in a cozy atmosphere. Call today or stop on in.
This is Tito Santana, and you're listening to Damage 365 Radio. Arriba!
The following announcement has been paid for by the New World Order.
And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed that interview with WWE Hall of Famer Larry Zybyscko, the living legend himself, the voice of WCW. Very interesting stories. He mentioned the founding of the NWO and how that idea was an old idea you wanted to be used in the AWA, WCW days, and was recycled into the NWO idea. So
I guess that cancels out any stories that Kevin Nash and Hulk Hogan have said about that was their idea, and they